Okay, this is Chapter 7, Best Practices or Security Management Practices. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff in here. Okay, benchmarking. It says creating a security blueprint so you can determine which controls are being considered. So I want to determine what I need for my organization so I could benchmark off of someone else. Hey, you are doing the same type of business as me. So what do you use? That'd probably be, if you're going to start something, we'll say we're going to start a new school. And what town doesn't have one? We're going to start a community college in Choctaw, okay? Probably too close, but we're going to do one there. So wouldn't it be a good idea to see what other schools are doing, other community colleges are doing, and benchmark off of them? That's what we're talking about here, okay? Here you can benchmark off of standards when they're talking about InfoSec, and the two main things they talk about here is due care and due diligence. You actually hear these quite a bit in many areas. Like the first one, a means of accessing planned actions by considering what will be reasonable if done by another similar or prudent organization. Bring something to mind. Remember a couple years ago when the Carnival Triumph broke down, had to be towed back to port? People were saying, they did not do due care. They didn't do everything they could because people had to sleep outside or sleep in corridors. Well,
buckets and stuff.
Yeah, but first of all, has anyone ever had an incident like that? I thought it would have been awesome. I'm waiting to be on a cruise ship with an incident. Never. I've done 35 cruises.
Really want to be the one that capsizes or falls?
Oh, I would be loved the one that would way over one side, way back the other. That would be so awesome.
Well, does texting while riding a lawnmower count as not due care?
But is your organization doing all they can to protect you or to do something correctly? So if Rose State all of a sudden decides, you know what, we're not going to provide XYZ, then we could possibly be held liable for that. Because, hey, a normal place would do this. It's like, okay, so I went to Taco Bueno the other day. Anyone have been to Taco Bueno over here?
No.
The prices are great, especially on Thursdays. Their service, oh my God, sucks. But what if all of a sudden they decided no longer to wash their hands? Wouldn't that be due care? They should really wash their hands. Come on, you've been in restrooms. They always say, employees must wash their hands. So really, that's something that they should be doing. And if they weren't, obviously they could be held liable for it. Due diligence. Are you doing all you can to protect someone? Okay? There's standards like, should Rose State have a firewall in place? Is there any real document that says when you get X number of employees or X number of students, then you need to get a firewall? Not really. When I ran my ISP, it was funny because Cox actually provided me a free router. And we're not talking home router. We're talking a business level ISP router. I was like, sweet. No one else was going to offer that to me. So when they gave it to me, I'm like, sweet, okay. I need the login and password so I can set up the ACL. Oh, this router doesn't support ACLs. Access control list, in other words, security. I'm like, then what good is it? It's literally no good at all. So, it's kind of funny. But okay. So it says failure to establish and maintain these standards can expose you to legal liability. Okay? So if your restaurant does not tell people to wash their hands, well then, maybe you're in trouble for it. Okay. Best practices. Okay. What do other people do is a good way of looking at it. So security efforts that seek to provide a superior level of performance in the protection of information. So what do we do here to protect us? Okay. There's websites that tell us all kinds about it and have all kinds of examples as well. Okay, they talk about some of them here. They have the policies, procedures, and practices you can download. You can look what other people do. That's what you should always do. Look what other people are doing first, and then go from there. Okay, they talk about some of the agency's best practices in your book. Okay, all right. It says industry regulated by law and standards and are subject to government oversight. So if we did not do what we're supposed to do, we could probably get in trouble for it. Okay? But as technology changes, laws change, so Maybe there's some new threat we don't even know about that's coming out 2 years from now. Can be held liable for that. I'll say initially no, but once other people become aware of it, becomes the best practice, at that point we would need to. It's like PCI compliance. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. That's accepting credit cards. Okay, 1940. Do they need to worry about that? Probably not. We didn't have credit cards in 1940, so obviously we did not need something like that. Okay, but now that we do have them, we need to have something. So those things could change. Okay.
Well, also going on to the credit cards, it's the smart. A lot of cards are starting to have the smart cards, and
Right, the chip.
all businesses now have to upgrade their.
Right. Well, it's not that they have to. As of October 2015, the new law says for every chip or every card that has the chip in it, if that card is used by swiping rather than by the chip, the organization is 100% responsible for all losses. So if I use my card without a chip and scan it, and there's a theft, probably MasterCard would be somewhat liable for it. But if it has a chip and I still scan it, then MasterCard is no longer responsible whatsoever. Now whatever organization, like a Taco Bueno again, I actually put my card in the machine the other day, like, oh, those have not been implemented yet. So my point is, if there was a theft at Taco Bueno would now brunt 100% of the cost.
So what if they don't have the stupid card reader, like, for the smart card?
Well, if I use a card that has the chip at the organization, they are responsible, whether I have a machine to read it or not. That was because I was talking to Brad Johnson, our IT guy. He actually had to go to a big old, massive, all day long training session, and he says, yeah, October 2015, October 31st, that's it. After that point, if someone uses a card with a chip, and either we don't support it or we didn't require them to use it, we are now responsible. So, kind of cool. So, all right. So standards of performance can inform the selection of practice. We're going to see what those are here in a second. Okay. So here's some questions we might want to think about. Does your organization resemble the target organization or the recommended practice? Maybe, are we similar to someone else? Are we similar to OKCCC? Yeah, I'd say we are. So are we doing about what they're doing? Okay. Are you familiar? Are you in a similar industry as our target? Okay. Do you face similar challenges? Okay. Now, would I compare Rose State to Tinker Air Force Base? No, because it's totally different. First of all, we don't have top secret data. We're not military. So really you have to compare against somebody else that's similar. So maybe we look at OKCCC. Compare Rose State to OKCCC. But what if neither one of us are doing what we're supposed to be doing? Okay, so you really need to look more than just one.
So there's a problem.
Right. It's kind of like, we go to Taco Bueno. Across the street is Taco Mayo. Yeah, they're both doing the same thing, but maybe they're both sucking. Okay? It says, can your organization expend resources at the level required by the practice? So the best practice might say you must have this $200,000 router or firewall. Maybe Rose State can't afford that. So what do? Do the best we can with what we can afford. Bill Richards, he used to be the head security guy at DISA on Tinker. Defense Information Security Agency. Basically the entire military is what DISA secures. And he was talking about their router at DISA compared to the one here at Rose State. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's not the same level of performance. Kind of like you could buy a cheap Cisco and an expensive Cisco. Same kind of thing. So you do what you can afford. Is our threat environment similar? If we were in China, would it be different than here? Obviously. Okay. All right, there's a bunch of places like NIST. That's in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Actually, a really awesome place to go. They have lots of best practices there. Okay. CERT, same way. Okay. It says the goal is to obtain a methodology for creating a framework to meet your situation. Okay, which could change. Okay. Some barriers now. It says many organizations do not share results. What? Why? Why would we not share results with somebody?
Because it's nobody's business.
That's really a pretty good answer. There's a movie out there, Ben Affleck, called Paycheck. If you've never seen it, you need to watch it. It's basically about reverse engineering. He would take, that's how it starts. He would take somebody else's project, reverse engineer it, and make it their own. And then he would make it better. Then the movie got bizarre after that. But maybe we don't want to share what we're doing. So should I share my cybersecurity curriculum with OKCCC?
No.
Okay. Yet it is public knowledge, so they could look at it. But a lot of places don't want to share. Should Coke share with Pepsi? I still think they do. I think there's collusion there. But should they? Okay. Should Taco Bueno and Taco Mayo share? Same basic thing. I mean, have you ever noticed, like, you can go to Taco Bueno, and if they're too busy, you can really go to Taco Mayo and get basically the same thing. Yeah, there you go. All right. I just happened to be looking at a discounted taco flyer right before class, in case you're wondering why this is coming up. Okay. So some security administrations are joining professional associations and societies that are sharing stories. InfoGuard. Anyone ever heard of InfoGuard?
Yes.
We have finally actually applied to become a member. We just haven't heard back yet. It takes about 6 months because they, believe it or not, actually do some research on you before they allow you to become a member. So yeah, we will be joining some of those organizations very soon. Okay? So there's other groups publish versions of attacks, security journals. I mean, there's lots of them. DEF CON. I've never been to one. I would like to go, but I can never seem to justify the cost. What do they do there? They talk about a lot of zero-day exploits and problems they found, stuff like that. Okay? All right. Another barrier is no two organizations are identical. So Rose State and OKCCC are not identical. We are similar, but we're not identical. They might have different things than we don't. You know, they no longer have a swimming pool. Did you know that? It needed to be updated, and theirs was like huge compared to ours. So they actually got rid of it. They couldn't afford to update their swimming pool.
So I'm guessing they're being affected by the budget cuts as well?
Oh, everybody is. Everybody is. So it really, you know, even though we might be similar, we're not identical. Okay, so the number and types of variables that affect security are likely to differ between any two organizations. Even if we're doing the exact same thing, you know, OKCCC, their population is different because they're in the southwest part of the city where we're over here in the kind of the eastern area. How about if we were in Edmond? What if we had a community college up in Edmond? So obviously it would be different at that point. Okay, third problem is recommended practices are a moving target. Okay? Today, we're going after this. Tomorrow, something new is on the market. Or something like, what's happening at noon today? Does anybody know?
Lunchtime, is it?
Oh, no. Apple has their next, tell us what the heck's coming out and what we all have to buy.
Their next keynote?
Next keynote.
It happens at noon today. See? I can't believe you didn't know that.
Why didn't you cancel class?
No.
Man.
No. Okay. So things are changing. New threats, new methods, new techniques, new practices. That's what it really drives me crazy because I want to buy stuff, but it's like, you know, if I wait a month, it's going to be cheaper.
Okay.
But then after that, it's like, you know,
The novelty's more.
Yeah. So
It's a vicious cycle.
it sucks. And you know, the whole Moore's law, everything doubles in speed basically every 18 months is happening. It really is. How about education and training? I mean, if we get this new stuff, maybe we need to train people on it. You know, so that gets expensive. So, all right. Baseline says an assessment of the performance of an action or process measured against a prior assessment or an internal goal. So I need to know how I'm running right now, okay, and compare it. You know, when I first did this, I implemented something. You know, did it make my traffic get better or worse? When I first implemented my firewall at my home system, when I ran my ISP, I think I already told this class, but originally I baselined off of another organization. I used their best practices. And theirs was let everything in and block the bad guy, which is very hard to do because the bad guy changes. So I was doing that for a few months, and then I switched it. I basically switched it to block everything but let the good guys in. Okay? So then I could really compare it. Then what I did was I watched the traffic over a period of time and saw what was coming in and manipulated my rules to affect that. And And then stuff that I missed, I went back and changed it. So, baselining is, it's kind of, and it was actually Bill Richards, who's the one who told me. He's like, whoa, I don't know what the heck you did, but my malicious traffic has dropped tenfold. Because the number of hits. I mean, I would literally get thousands of hits per second. I just have no idea how much people are always trying to. I remember, I don't know if you ever messed with an ACL on a router. I'm not sure it's changed a little bit now, but originally you had to remove the ACL and then put on the new one. You basically say no ACL and here's the new ACL. So what you do, you copy it and edit it, then you say there's no ACL, then here's the new ACL. You couldn't just edit it live. And I still remember doing that one day. As soon as I said no ACL, every single virus scanner on my whole entire network went off for the NIMDA virus. Someone was trying to attack me at that point. So even though I had a firewall, I still needed the virus scanners behind it. So baseline says the process of measuring against an established internal value. So all of a sudden my traffic has gone up. I was going to show you an example of this, but I don't feel like logging in here. But my internet traffic, not my internet, my cell phone data traffic. I just happened to look at it about a month ago. And in a 2-day period, I used nearly 30 gigs. Yeah. Stepdaughter, phone, father's house, no internet, streaming Netflix 24/7. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Happening.
You just have unlimited data.
No, but I use about 10 to 12 gigs, and I have 30. Plus, I let you roll over, so I should have plenty. Actually, I got an email this week saying, hey, you really need to lower your data. No, just leave where it's at. But happened again this weekend. Not to that extent, but it was close. So there's an option in AT&T. It's awesome. Right below where it shows the data usage, it says turn off data for this user. Oh, there it goes. It's all gone.
No more Facebook.
She's not happy. Okay. All right, so basically, baselining, you're comparing it. So what I did is I looked at my traffic, and all of a sudden my traffic went crazy. You got to figure out what the difference is, and that was quite easy to figure out. Okay, it says so we basically compare what's going on. Maybe it could be a virus or something causing traffic. So. All right, it says by baselining and seeking to use benchmarks, you can piece together a desired outcome. Maybe I wanted to use tons of data, then I could do different things. Okay. All right. It says you can work backwards to achieve an effective design methodology. Maybe we want to allow this, we don't want to allow that. We want to increase our bandwidth or lower our bandwidth, whatever. And this has a bunch of documents on that. Okay. All right. CERT also has lots. CERT is actually a great place to look for up-and-coming threats or threats that just came out. Asaka is the same way. They got a lot of stuff there. They actually have a lot of conferences. Kind of cool there. Okay, the Garda group has stuff. They actually have the 12 questions you should ask about people, and some of them are kind of interesting. So let's look. So for people, do you perform background checks on all employees with access to data, areas, access points?
Yes.
It's a good idea to do, because some of the stuff you might not think about. Would the typical employee recognize a security issue?
No.
Probably not. So what should we do? Provide more training in the area, mainly. So just by the answer, we know the answer to that one is no. We know that we need to do something. Okay? Would the typical employee choose to report it? Probably no, because they wouldn't even know it's bad. Okay? I heard someone got the wonderful crypto locker virus.
Yeah, my boss's computer got the CryptoLock virus, and she messaged me asking me to fix it, and I was like,
There's no fix.
she's like, and I tried to click the links to pay it, but all of the links are bad.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So that's the example of a malware that sucks. You can't even pay them off. All right, it says, would the typical employee know how to report it or who to report it to? Probably not. Okay, a prime example is one of our VPs on campus. She gets viruses all the time. She doesn't know what to do, and she doesn't report it. The only way we know about it is because we get the emails from her then telling us to click on stuff. So like, oh, okay. So I contacted IT services about a month ago, and like, yes, we know. We've already quarantined her account, and we're working to clean it up. And she doesn't realize she did it. Oh, my email's almost full. Click here to upgrade. Okay. No, that's not a good idea.
You like to save 10% on your car insurance?
Okay, so process is an enterprise security policy is updated or at least on an annual basis. Do you update your stuff? Okay. Do you educate employees? Do you tell them about the changes? That kind of stuff. And by the way, I did grade all your homework. Some of you probably saw that. Some of you missed that part. On the policies, some of you, there was a couple of them that were amazing. A couple people, didn't even talk about the revisions or the distribution or stuff like that. First of all, you're going to change something, you need tell people you're changing it. That's why, you're always getting these new privacy notices. You should be getting from your credit card companies, pretty much everything you have, you get them all the time. They're trying to notify you. Do you read them?
No.
Probably not. It's funny, way back years ago, I had Geico insurance, and it lapsed. And what it was is I had it set to auto pay off a credit card, and the credit card expired. That's what sucks, and you don't think about it. So I called them. It only lapsed by like 2 days. But I called them. I'm like, why didn't you notify me? They're like, we did. I'm like, how did you notify me? Oh, we sent you these letters in the mail in these pink envelopes. I'm like, oh, the ones that look exactly like trash. So I throw them right away. What do you get when you get a pink envelope? That's obviously trash. So you throw it away. No, that was their notification that my credit card expired. So I'm like, dude, you're not doing a good job on.
Technically, that was your bad though, because you didn't.
Right, I should have. Right, I totally should have read it. So I try to open more of those now. But most of the time, it's like, there's 30 seconds of my life wasted. But yeah, I should have done that. No big deal. They didn't charge me any fees or anything. So, but it was bad. Okay. Do you follow a patch or update management process? About a year ago, I happened to look at my computer, and it was like it was in the fall, at the beginning of the fall semester, probably last fall. And I looked at my computer in my office, and I'm like, I wonder when my updates were done. It was in January 2014, that's how I remember. So it was in the fall 2014 that I saw my updates were done in January 2014. Is that good?
No.
No. So I contacted our people and I says, yes, we know, we're getting an update package ready. Why aren't you? No, that's bad. It's a bad idea. Okay? So it was amazing. They were able to update it within a day. So I'm thinking someone just totally forgot about it. Because what we do is we update from an internal server that obviously somebody wasn't authorized. What happens is the updates come into the internal server, then they have to authorize them. No one was authorizing them. All right. Are user accounts of former employees immediately removed on termination? I'm bad about that because they might be leaving, but first of all, were you told if people were leaving? That's one issue. But I always like to disable them. That way, see, the problem is with user accounts, depending on the user level, they might have all kinds of special permissions. And I still remember way back when I worked in the network shop at Tinker. We had a guy who basically the commander was leaving. So what they did was they deleted the commander's account and then added the new commander. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. Because that commander had all these special permissions set, and now the new guy needs the same ones, and he was already deleted, so they had to take forever. I says you can, copy him. Use him as a template for the new guy. And so I'm always big on disabling, and that way you can... But you definitely at least need to disable. Okay. Are security group representatives involved in all stages of the project lifecycle? Do people realize, hey, we're going to be implementing something new? Is it going to meet your needs? That kind of stuff. Okay. Is every possible network route to the internet protected? There's a problem with that statement. Right at the beginning is every possible network route. There's no way you could know every possible network route.
Yeah.
Because that's bad. How could you don't know? I just don't see how you could even.
Well, it kind of depends on your business. If your whole.
But even if I only have one connection in, maybe that's my one connection now. But tomorrow it could change.
What about that website that you have us go to that does that little port scan?
Yeah, GRC. That's awesome. If you've never done grc.com, you need to go there. It's really good. It looks for vulnerabilities on your firewall. It's really and it's free. grc.com. Go to Shields Up. I'm not going to do it here because I won't find anything. But All right. So is sensitive data on laptops, remote systems secured? Okay. But where do these laptops go? That kind of stuff. So, all right. Technology says, are you information assets in your system? Do you use regular access for security vulnerability or exposures using a vulnerability analysis method? Are you looking at them? Just lots of different aspects. And how about the next part? PCI, payment card industry. I hated that. I used to take care of a bunch of gyms around the city. Anytime Fitness. I don't know if you ever heard. I took care of all the gyms around here, and
These like the gift cards or credit cards or.
it's really credit cards. Okay. Basically, I took care of the gyms, for Anytime Fitness here in Mustang and Lawton all over, and we accepted credit cards. So we had to go through PCI compliance checks. I don't know if it was quarterly or semi-annually, whatever. And they would do an external scan of our system. Plus, we had to answer these questions before we could get our certification. If you don't get your certification, you don't accept credit cards. Okay. So, and I think so. At that point, let's talk about your next assignment. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about the end. That way I can make it in a separate recording. But it's about PCI compliance. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay. So it says consider recommended or best practices for them. Look what other people use for credit cards. I accepted credit cards when I ran my business, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to take care of. Okay. All right, benefits and performance are measurable. How are things running? Are they slow? Are they fast? Because like when someone calls and says, internet's running slow, how do you know it's running slow? I have the ultimate package at my house. Roy doesn't. Roy has the low-end package at his house. So slow to me might be super fast to him. So it's a relevant thing. Okay? And for that, you need metrics to base it off of. All right. We're going to talk about those here in a second. Okay. The says InfoSec performance management, the process used to design, implement, and manage the use or collect data. Obviously, data collection is a big deal. I'm going to show you examples of that here in a minute as well. And performance. And whenever you speed test is awesome. I use it all the time. Speedtest.net, isn't it? Whatever it is. Works great to see how fast my system's running. Okay. So let's talk about some different types of measurements. Those are to determine the effectiveness of a policy. So we updated our virus scanners. How many viruses we got lately? That kind of stuff. Okay. How many people entered their password wrong? That kind of stuff. Okay. Determine the effectiveness and or efficiency of the services. How quickly did we answer every call to the help desk? There's some places where you're actually timed, and Dell does that, where your call time has to average a certain number. If it's too low, you're not providing the level of service they feel. If it's too high, you're spending too much time. So that's another issue. Okay. All right. How about the impact of an incident? What happened? Maybe we're going to do a follow-up, and did it affect our organization when something happened? Okay. Must document everything. Again, I suck at documenting everything. My problem is I have an issue, so I find the answer on the internet. Then I fix it. Done. But then the problem is you have the same problem a year from now, and you're like, crap, where did I find that answer last time? You have to go dig up the answer again. So that's one good thing about Facebook now. You can post how to fix it on your own Facebook page. I actually do that quite a bit. So, all right. According to NIST, the following factors must be considered during development and implementation. Measurement must yield quantifiable information. Okay, percentages, averages. So if I'm measuring something and not getting results, why measure it? I can't say, okay, how was your internet speed? Good. That's probably not the correct answer. But if I say my internet speed was, 2.2 gigs, that's something at least now I have a number. Okay. Okay, data that supports the measurements needs to be readily obtainable. Should be able to. I don't want to spend 6 weeks getting this data. I tried to find a picture of this, but I couldn't find it. But way back when I was in the military, when I got moved into the computer group, one of the tasks that they had me do was the AVPOL system. Aviation gas is what it was. It was how much gas was being used for the AWACS. And whoever had done it before me sucked at it, I guess. Because what I did is I figured out how much being used for each aircraft at each location. I made this beautiful bar chart. Then the first month I'm here to report, and I show him this bar chart, and the general's like, whoa, where'd you get that? I'm like, I just made it. Because that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, he literally was telling her, y'all need to be doing stuff like this. Because they used to just give numbers. But when you can see a chart, you can very easily see this organization's using a lot more gas, or this aircraft is, then you can very quickly and get it. I mean, it was readily obtainable. I mean, I published it every month. But I still remember that day. He's right at the beginning. He's like, whoa, stop. Where did you get that? And I made it. So you know what happened after that point? All the other officers below the general contacted me. Okay, well, how'd you do that? We need you to... Oh, crap. That sucks. Okay. So, it says only repeatable process should be considered for management. If it's something I'm doing one time, probably not something I want to recommend for an ongoing basis. Okay? Measurements must be used for tracking performance and directing resources. So, hey, we're keeping track of our internet, our bandwidth is getting maxed out, maybe we need to buy more, that kind of stuff. All right. It says, according to NIST, 4 factors are critical. Strong upper management support. They should always be there to support you. Okay. Practical policies and procedures for information security. We talked about that a lot. Quantifiable measurements. I mean, we got numbers now. We know we have something called, I can think of it all of a sudden. Finish what you start, but now it's called Complete College America. How many people are graduating at Rose State? Would that be kind of an important number to know? Yeah, I mean, we have something also called Achieving the Dream. So in other words, it's something we can look at and compare semester to semester. We also look at the number of majors in a program. Obviously, if I have a lot of majors, I have a lot of students. If I have low majors, or if I have no graduates, so you can use those numbers to determine what to... So the school needs to get rid of a program. Are they going to get rid of the one with the most majors and most graduates, or the least majors and least graduates?
Least majors and least.
Right, but if we didn't have those numbers, could you just imagine if there was no numbers? And the president just happened to walk in here, she's like, man, you got like 6 students? Across the hall in humanities, they got 28 students. You're done. I mean, that would not be good. So we would need actual numbers to gear them, okay? Results-oriented measurement analysis. So we did this, and did it effective? Did it make it better? Did it make it worse? Did it make it faster? Did it make it slower? I was actually talking to our secretary this morning. I'm assuming some of you have Cox. Is your internet provider? Okay. Well, every now and then, I don't know why, I have to turn off my cable modem and turn it back on. I don't know why. I've tried turning off everything but basically what I did is I put a power strip in my little pantry where all my stuff is, and basically it's my router, my cable modem, my switch, all plugged into it. I just power it all down, wait about 10, 12 seconds, and power it back on. That seems to fix my problem. Okay? And basically, it's results oriented. I know my internet. Whenever I look at my internet, I have the 200 meg plan, so I usually get about 130, 150 meg. Whenever I look at it, I get like 10 meg. We know there's a problem, and that always seems to fix it. I don't know why, but I'm looking at the numbers, and I reboot everything, then it comes back to life again. So I think it's something to do with Cox, because she was saying the same thing. So, man, my internet just gets so slow. Every now and then I have to turn it off and back on. As I have the same exact issue. I think it's just a Cox thing. So, all right, metrics. Okay, metrics. I did a lot with metrics. I tried to find you the one I used in the military, because when they moved me into the software development area, I actually started doing all these metrics for all this stuff, and it was great. I just can't find a picture of them. So very granular detailed. Now I'm going to show you one here. I brought one. This is actually one I just made yesterday, actually. I have a solar system in my house. Obviously, you all know that.
Solar system? Oh, right.
Solar panels. Here's my last...
Hold on.
Yes, I have the star and the moon. Yeah. Uranus? No, okay. So if you look at my current bill, this is the bill as of 2 days ago, the 18th of this month. I got billed for 0 kilowatts of power. basically, because I produced 843 and I only needed 820. So basically I had a negative factor. Understand how that works? I produced more power than I used. So my bill you'd think would be zero, but it's not. It's $14 because I got to pay a stupid franchise fee. But basically, I want to know statistics over my solar system. Solar energy producing system. Is that better? Alright, so what I decided to do was I'm going to create this spreadsheet. Come on. I just started doing this. I'm tracking, okay, first of all, before I show, well, if I'm going to keep track of the solar energy production, what do you think I should, what should I track first of all? Maybe how much I produce would be good. Anything else? When I'm producing, okay. I mean, how much I'm producing each day would be handy. I really have I can't really do much about, did it produce at noon or at night, but how about the weather? Could that be an issue? Maybe keep track of that, because if I look, Saturday I produced 70 kilowatts of power. But one day last week I produced 18. So is my system broken? No, it was raining that day. So maybe the weather would be good. How about how much I give to OG&E? How much I take from OG&E so I can figure out my actual usage. So just a lot of different things. How about, let's see, so I'm starting to keep track of all this stuff. I'm keeping track of the date. How much, like right here, look at that. 18.2 kilowatts was produced. Oh, it was cloudy that day. Yet, Saturday, I produced 70 and it was sunny. Okay? So, and I have more data on here. I just haven't updated everything yet. And down here, and I actually have column headings. Amount delivered to OG&E, in other words, how much, no, that's to customer from OG&E. So OG&E gives me power. Like at night, obviously I'm not producing any power. So I'm taking from OG&E. But during the day, I'm giving to OG&E. Okay, like right now I'm producing all kinds of power at no one's home, so I give it to OG&E. How much I actually use each day. That's the number that's going to be the hardest one to get. I looked Saturday, we actually used 26.87 kilowatts of power. But I produced 70. So I'm good. I almost produced 3 times what I needed. But how about over here? Maybe keeping track of the sunrise and sunset so I know it's a longer day. Do you know our days have been increasing by like 2 minutes a day? Look at that. Look at that. We're increasing sunlight by about 2 minutes a day. What?
Because in the summertime, when all
Right.
your children's at home, you're going to use more power.
Right. But June 21st is the longest day of the year. So I'm producing a lot more power than that's when my air conditioner's going to be on, my pool's going to be on. So I just started this yesterday. I really haven't gotten results from it yet, and I don't even know if it's what I need to collect. But it's a good start. Okay? Down here I'm actually keeping track of what are those columns for, and how much the net kilowatt, you see like this one was a negative value. So when talking about what I'm keeping track of here, so metrics is a very granular, detailed measurement, and performance measurement is kind of like the aggregate, the high level type stuff. So what do you think I'm keeping track of there? The metrics or the performance measurements?
Probably your performance measure.
Well, I'm keeping track of that in one area, in other words, overall negative 23 for the month. But by keeping track of how much I produce each day and the cost and how much, that's really metrics. It's a lot of small data. So what I should be able to use with all those small data points is determine overall, is it worth my value? I actually rewrote my Java program for my advanced Java class, and I gave them just 1 week's worth of data. And their little Java program is to determine how long it'll take to pay off my solar system, solar energy producing system, based on the cost and based on the energy production. So basically with that, I'm having them take the small pieces of metrics and produce the big numbers. Kind of like that AvPol system. I took all the data of all the usage of every aircraft or every flight and produced this overall picture I could show the people in charge. You think the general really wants to see the actual small? Would he care, looking at my solar system, that I only produce 18 on Wednesday? No, he won't care. He just wants to know, is it worth my while? That kind of stuff. Okay? Says this text treats the two terms as interchangeable. They kind of are, but not really. See, metrics normally produce your measurements. So that's why they're kind of the same, but not really. You have all the small bits, but it also helps produce the big bits. So sometimes they are considered the same thing. All right, but yeah, if you don't have measurements, what good is it? Okay. Now it's a little late for me. My solar system has already been purchased. So even if I'm never going to get my money back, it's already been paid for. I have no choice. But I would like to know, did I make the right decision?
So do you produce more power when it's like hotter?
Oh, the temperature has nothing to do with it. It's actually the angle of the sun and the amount of time the sun's over the panel that produces. Super rainy, the day they finally got it installed, super rainy, cloudy the entire day, I still produce 18 kilowatts of power. Sounds like there ain't no way. Like, oh yeah, you'll produce power every single day. Rain, sleet, snow. Well, something's covered. Snow would suck, I guess. But yeah, I produce power at all times. Well, they're saying some places that their systems are so powerful that they actually produce power at night. Moonlight and everything. Wow. No, I don't have that system, by the way. Okay. So it says, before designing, collecting, using measurements, you should prepare some answers. It says, why are we doing this? Should I care? No, I've already paid for my system, so why do I care? Well, because people are always asking me, hey, how long is it going to take to get your money back? Did I make the right decision? Because I love checking it at night. Like, ooh, I made 70 kilowatts of power today. That's an all-time record. And maybe if it starts dropping off, they could tell me, hey, I need to go wash my panels. That kind of stuff. Okay. What measurements should be collected? How will they be collected? Who will collect them? When will they be collected? That kind of stuff. Okay. And what sucks is a lot of times you'll have, we got a Heather is going to collect this specific data for us. Heather took the week off. Who else knew what Heather was collecting? Is someone going to collect it while Heather's off this week?
No.
Well, maybe Heather left details.
Maybe she left detailed notes and said, hey, I'm gone this week, so Bobby over here, I need you to do it. But what if Heather didn't?
So Heather's responsible.
Yeah. Okay. So, and where will they be collected? Okay. So the measurement program must be able to demonstrate value. Okay. If this whole metrics, performance, measurement, collection system brings no value to organization, then why do it? Okay. Maybe doing the PCI compliance check brings no value to me. I'm just wasting time doing it. So why do it? Because if I don't do it, I can't collect credit cards. So it's not really bringing a direct value to me, but without doing it, I can no longer accept credit cards, which means I can no longer accept payment. So technically, doing the compliance check is bringing value to my organization. Okay. All right. It says benefits of using it: increased accountability. Okay. Improving effectiveness, demonstrating compliance. We just talked about that. Quantifiable inputs and allocate. Hey, you know what? We spent this money and look what we got out of it. All of a sudden, our internet is 12 times faster. Maybe spend a little more and make it 15 times faster. Okay. Dixie Air Title Service. I took care of their computer systems for quite a while. They always about e-machines. If you know anything about e-machines, they suck. And I kept telling them, I says, I took care of two companies. Aerospace Reports and Dixie Air Title Service. Exact same business. They do title for aircraft. Aerospace Reports would always tell me, buy best. Whatever there is, let's buy it. Dixie Air was actually buy the absolute cheapest, or she would literally go buy e-machines. And I would tell her, I says, aerospace spends about $2,000 on a machine. You spend about $250. Aerospace, I never have a problem, never have to go out and fix it. You guys, I'm here daily. And they have a hard time looking at it that way. But that really used to drive me crazy. I'm like, if you just buy a little bit better. They finally did stop buying e-machines and bought the low-end, kind of like Dell low-end machines. At least it was better than the stupid e-machines. That still sucked so bad. All right, so quantify, decisions, all that stuff. Okay, there's a lot of NIST documents. Man, we're never going to get done. You guys talk too much. Okay, so two categories: identification and definition of your program. What are you doing? How are you doing that? How is it going to impact everything? Is it effective? Okay. 7 phases, which they talk about all of them here. Phase 1. It's a nice, pretty picture. Phase 1, identify stakeholders, stakeholders and their interest. Why do we want to do this?
Because you need to know who's providing the money
Yeah.
and stuff.
To identify phase 2, to identify and document the performance goals. What are we going to measure? How do we even know if this program is working? Okay. Phase 3, focus on our practices. What are we doing? Are we, got this money, we implemented this, okay. Then we're going to review them. Phase 4, review everything. Okay. Phase 5, and if you look at these pictures, they always go back. 4 and 5 keep going over. So we implement something, whoa, it got better. Or we implement something, now it got worse. That kind of stuff. Okay. Phase 5, 6, and 7 involve developing measurements that track process implementation. And as I showed you, they all go back over and over and over. It's a continual process. Okay. I updated a policy. Now all of a sudden, so we changed our password policy from allow blank passwords to now have a better password. Oh wow, it's amazing. We stopped getting broken into, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. This is a critical task in the measurement process is to assess the quality or quantity what will be measured. Okay. When I actually had a credit card breach at my ISP due to a SQL injection attack on a piece of software, one of the questions I had to answer was, are we monitoring firewall CPU every 15 seconds? How can you answer that? Can you imagine every 15 seconds? Refresh. You couldn't. You can't. So, but there is something called SMBs and SNMP, which you can use to identify, which I did use at that point. But I mean, it's tough to do something. Sometimes without technology, you can't do all of it. Okay. It says our measurements collected from production statistics depend on the number of systems and the number of users on those systems. Maybe we should collect our measurements during last week when we're not very busy. But that'll be stupid. There's no one here. So we're collecting usage statistics during a time when the school is closed. Probably not good. So that'd be a good idea to know when you're doing this stuff. Okay. Some organizations track these. Oh, I gotta go back to this one again. Years ago, it's funny. Machines would get turned off at night for whatever reason, and then I go teach. I'd show up at teach my 5:40 class. I turn my machine on. 5 minutes into my lecture, I get the pop-up. Your machine will be rebooting in 5 minutes, and there's no. It's like, okay. It's like I'm in the middle of a lecture, so I called IT services. I'm like, this happens all the time. They're like, yes, I know. The school closes at 5 o'clock. That's why we do it after 5. I'm like, no. We teach class at 5:40. You can't, do it at 2 o'clock. Well, we can't do it at 2 o'clock because people are working. Yeah, but we're here for the students. So after multiple times, they finally stopped doing that. That would drive me crazy. It's like literally, middle of my lecture, machine's rebooting in 5 minutes. I'm like,
Why not do it at 3 a.m.?
I know. It was crazy. Okay. All right. So some organizations track these 2 values of measurement and maybe need more detailed measurements. Maybe we're not getting enough information to figure out what we want to do. Okay, it goes back to our metrics. What are we collecting? Are we collecting too much stuff? Okay, I'm always big on making spreadsheets and charts and stuff. Like for my mystery shopping, I have this really super detailed chart, which I can very easily tell you if I'm making profit in a second. Virginia, on the other hand, sucks at it. So I really do hers in my chart now because she wasn't doing it. I say, okay, taxes are due. She's like, oh, I guess I need to go back over the entire year. Well, even if you'd done it each time, it would be easier to keep track of it. So really, what you collect, how you collect it, when you collect it is always a big deal. Okay? The measurement development approach says, look at, exactly what are you doing? Look at your overall program. How is it functioning? Now the micro, now we're looking at each individual aspect of it. So how is this PC functioning? Is the antivirus on the individual systems working good? That kind of stuff. Okay? Okay. Prioritization selecting. So if I'm going to try to prioritize stuff, so what should I keep track of more? The public-facing web server or the PC in room 119?
Public-facing web server.
Probably the public-facing web server. That's the one that's more of a threat. It probably does a lot more than this one in room 119. Okay, So the certain metrics are prioritized in the same manner as the process there.
Actually, it kind of depends how much, like, what is the usage of the PC in room 119?
That could be. Yeah, I mean, this PC might do a lot of stuff, but here it doesn't. But okay. Rank them. Okay. Targets. How do we expect them? We want our virus scanners to catch 100% of the viruses. It's not going to happen. Okay. But come up with measurements that are realistic. Get templates. There's a lot of templates, and your book talks about some of the templates. There's actually, I think it's on page 262. They have a bunch of templates for them in there, and we're not going to go over them. Okay. There's a bunch of NIST documents to show templates as well. Look at some of this stuff. Percentage of organization's information security budget devoted to InfoSec. Kind of makes, how much money are you spending? You ever seen the statistics on the healthiest cities to live in? You know some of the stuff they look at? Sidewalks. The amount of streets you have, and the amount of sidewalks on the streets. The amount of gyms. The amount of fast food restaurants. So that's how they determine if they're healthy. Do people walk? I mean, what do they eat? Yeah, that kind of stuff. Same with this. How much money do you have, and how much are you spending on security? If you're spending all of it on security, okay, great, but it's probably not the way to go. Okay. Says percentage space of remote access points used to gain unauthorized access. So how many of them are people using the wrong way? Okay. Training. Fourth one's training. So they just go on and on, all this different stuff. And this would just help you determine, how it's working. Okay. So phase 1, prepare and collect data. Collect data and analyze the results. Okay. So my spreadsheet I showed you, which I made this weekend, do you think I am in the analyze results yet, or the identify corrective actions yet? Probably not. I'm at the very beginning preparing to collect data. I'm just thinking of what I need to collect, and I started collecting a little bit of it. But as I was doing it, I started on the left, obviously, with the spreadsheet, and I said, wait a minute, these numbers are... Saturday was the highest number ever. Why was Saturday the highest? I got to thinking Saturday was the longest day so far. So we had a totally sunny day a while back, but I only got 67. So obviously the longer day. So I said, you know what, maybe I need to know what the length of the day was. So I don't know how I'm going to do anything with it. So I'm preparing at this point to determine what I want to do. Okay. There may be, corrective actions. What are we going to do? We have 3 viruses this month. What are we going to do? We found 2 rogue firewalls. One thing Brad Johnson did when he got a job here was he immediately started going throughout the entire network and turning off ports that weren't in use. Is that a good idea? That's a great idea. I mean, let's try to pick a room. Room 120. No class in there right now, but there's a port on the wall. Should it be enabled?
No. Oh, yeah.
Well, technically the phone's connected to it. And you could technically plug the computer into the phone. So, I mean, so it's not always a clear-cut thing. But if a room's, this room, actually that's being used now too. But, okay, the room right behind me, room 120, where Eileen's office used to be. No one's in there now, so what should we do? Probably turn it off. Okay, but now actually someone's in there, but we've got math people in here. Okay, develop the business case. Why do we need to spend more money on this? Okay. Obtain resources, that kind of stuff. Provide corrective actions. Okay. It's just what we talked about. Make decisions about how to represent correlated metrics, charts. Like I said, I made a bar chart, which was, in my opinion, the easiest way to show where, they could look at it. Whoa, why is there a big spike there? Well, that's because this organization went on a trip to wherever this month. It's very easy for them to determine where the money was going. Okay, colors, awesome. But you got to look at, sometimes when you print it, it's in black and white. So then you got to pick colors that when print contrast well enough too. Okay. All right. Accreditation. Do you have accreditation? If you want, I want to accept credit cards, so I have to have my PCI compliance. If I don't want to accept credit cards, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Certification. Actually, Rose State's accredited. My son was going to go to St. Louis Christian University. Totally free tuition, as long as you live on campus. So in other words, you have to pay for the housing, but then the tuition's free. Still sounds like a pretty good deal, don't you think? But they're credited in Kansas only. So what that means is you're going to get a job in Kansas, you're golden. Want to move outside of Kansas, what good is Kansas? Not Kansas, what good is it? So really, accreditation is a big deal. Okay, certification. Are you certified in what you're doing? Okay. I get to go to a training class, by the way. 3 weeks from now, I'll be gone. Let you know ahead of time. But hopefully this class produces another certification for me if I learned something. Okay? All right. NIST document, they talk about the risk management framework. Risk is a really big issue. We're not going to go into great depth on it, but risk is everywhere. I think we mentioned at the beginning of the semester, we have this thing here I have to step over every day. That's actually a risk. Okay? How much risk are you willing to accept? Okay. At the top we have the overview, kind of strategic level. Okay. So really, like I said, that's the governance. That's the high level management. We get all the way down to the information system, basically the smaller level. And it really depends. Different people would manage it at different levels or even know about it. Do you really think the president of the college is going to want to keep track of the number of cords laying across the floor? No, but I bet somebody does. I would hope they do. Okay. Back to that same thing. It was a while back. I was in a meeting in the Technology Services Committee. They were talking about the number of computers on campus. They keep track of that. We have X number of computers on campus. So I raised my hand. I'm like, is that accurate? Yes, that is exactly accurate. We implement SMS. There's every machine on campus. I said, what about my labs that are not connected to your network? That is a very accurate number for every machine on campus, with the exception of Ken's labs. So what about this other? Oh yeah, with the exception of those too. How about the laptops in the PD? Well, it does not include the laptops. So I'm like, what good is this statistic you're giving me? Again, that's kind of like the overview number, but it really didn't include all the particulars. Okay. So, risk management framework, a lot of aspects to it. It says categorize your systems, your storage, your transmit, what data is being used. Select the initial set of security controls. What are you going to do? We know we need antivirus at least. We might need more on this one particular machine. Do I really need to install SMS on this machine to keep track of process utilization? Probably not, because we don't care on this one. But maybe on another one we would care. Okay. Implement our controls. See if they worked. Okay. It says assess them using appropriate assessment procedures. Hey, we put a virus scanner on. Did we catch any viruses? Okay. It says authorize information system operations based on a determination of the risk. So, in other words, we have more risk, maybe we want to spend more money on it. Okay. Monitor your controls. Are they working? Are the virus? They do. They actually look at those because I have kept every email I've ever sent or received all the way back to when we got hired here in 2000. About a month ago, they came in and like, can you get a virus? I'm like, let me guess. It was an email from probably way back in 2000. What it was is I had a friend who had sent me a zip file with a known malware in it. It really wasn't malware. It was a really super old virus. And sure enough, because I have terabytes of data on my machine. It takes them. I usually stop their scanner before it finishes because it takes so long. But they finally found that email because what it is they're all I have each year in a separate PST file, and there's lots it has to go through. But they finally found them, and I just go and delete them one by one as they find them. But it's good. They're actually doing it. They're actually scanning my machine, and they're actually doing something about it. Hey, you got a virus. But again, they're always this really old crap. Okay. All right. So there's our framework. Categorize, select, and implement, and assess, and authorize, and monitor, and keep on going. Okay, almost done. Okay, and there's assess. Did it work? It says plan to assess the security controls in place, then authorize. This is the authorization process. What are we going to do with it? Do we need to spend more money on it? Is the amount of risk we are acceptable? Obviously, we have risk. We have students on the campus. Okay, so we have some risk. Okay. Accreditation and certification are not permanent. They change all the time. I said that PCI compliant years ago wasn't even something. Now it is something. So this stuff changes. Okay. It's the continuous improvement model. I think we are done. All right. We need to stop this.